Alright, hello everyone. It's Sunwoo here. I'm gonna be kind of going over how I approached my capstone project last year, and hopefully, this perspective can give you a little bit more insight on how you can approach yours. So, here I have pulled up my paper, the paper that I wrote for my capstone project, and then my presentation, which I did. And then I have this article which I'll use to kind of show how to use. I'll kind of use this article to show y'all how to use Zotero, which is a citation software. But yeah, anyways, let's get started. So I know it's already September, and many of y'all have started your research, your literature review, or your spotlight article, or whatever. But I'm going to be kind of going over how I first brainstormed and found my specific topic of interest, just so that this can provide some insight for y'all in future research as well, not just this capstone project. So I knew I was going to write a literature review when Tej, the previous organizer for the USC club last year, said that we were all going to do a capstone project. Um, but I didn't really know how to approach finding a specific topic for a literature review. Um, so I just kind of asked around, and I found out that the best way to do this approach is to look into other literature reviews in that field. So I knew I kind of wanted to do something with like behavior, decision making, stuff like that. So I read a bunch of review articles on like dopaminergic pathways and like habituation and addiction and stuff like that, right? And I realized if I wanted my paper to kind of be like something at least a little bit insightful or at least achievable at my stage, it would have to be something that's pretty specific. So, like on one of the research papers I was reading, I found a single sentence about FOXP2, and I thought, this is pretty interesting. So I decided to look into this, and this became the topic for my capstone project. FOXP2, which is a transcription factor, and how it modulates habituation within the striatum. I won't go into the details of my capstone project. Y'all can look at that in the club website. But yeah, that was essentially what my capstone project was. So yeah, in summary, I advise all of you to look for something very specific in whatever projects you might pursue in the future, because it'll make your product much more insightful, much more efficient, and less daunting. Okay, so the bulk of my project was the paper, so now I'll be going into that. Yeah, so I wrote a literature review, but this also pertains to those doing original research as well. Before you start with anything, the best way to just situate yourself is to start reading reviews on your specific topic. So I started reading reviews on Fox P2. And from these reviews, I got key articles or key research papers that stood out to me. When you find these specific research articles, just like summarize them and write them down onto a blank doc. And all these summaries will build your knowledge of what this field is like so you can start making connections. And this summary eventually becomes the introduction if you're doing an original research and basically the main section if you're doing a literature review. Regarding literature reviews, once I had a lot of the things jotted down, I realized that there were specific patterns between the papers that I read. So I grouped those patterns, and those patterns became like the main points I had in my literature review. And the same thing can be said for original research as well, where you find patterns within the results of your research, and those become your main points. And then these main points can become like the topics that you talk about. Topic 1, topic 2, topic 3 in your presentation. So whether you're doing a literature review or original research, once you find these key patterns within the papers that you're reading, or once you find the key patterns within the results that you're getting, you can form these topics, and these are what you can talk about. So I didn't use a citation software last year, but I started using Zotero, so here it is. I have a paper pulled up, one that I used a lot last year for my capstone project, and here I have Zotero installed. So Zotero basically is where you can compile a library of all the papers that you save using the Chrome extension. So I have the Chrome extension, I can just click on it, and if I click on it, it'll automatically save to my Zotero library, as you can see. Bam. So say I want to add a citation to the end of this sentence. I can use Zotero, add edit citation, APA. I'm using APA for now. And it should load. What was the article called? Humanized FOXP2. and then you can go click go, and bam, the citation is there. And this is really convenient because later on when you have to add a bibliography, you can say add edit bibliography, and bam, the bibliography is done. And you can change the entire bibliography depending on how you want it. Like, say you're submitting to a journal that requires IEEE. Then you can just go to Zotero and you can say document preferences, change it to IEEE. Okay. Then it changes the citation to IEEE. This applies to all the citations you add to your paper using Zotero. So it's really convenient, as you can see. I didn't use it last year, I should have, but I encourage you all to use it for your capstone projects because it is really helpful. Okay, so finally I'm going to be talking about the presentation. And this is the easiest part, honestly. Last year I spent most of my time doing my paper, and once I had a rough draft of the paper, I knew everything I needed to know to make the presentation in like a week or so. So the presentation did not take me too long. And like I said, once you have those topics, you have your presentation already organized and everything. The main thing you got to know for presentations is that you just got to be able to summarize all your knowledge into key figures. As you can see, I barely have any words. It's just all images, maybe a couple bullet points for each slide. And that's how I advise all of you to do your presentations. Make it figure centric, image centric. So, and then just know what you're talking about so you can be able to just look at this slide and talk about what this is about and how it pertains to your project. And this is not for just the capstone projects. Even for like my experience with science fair, I just realized you just need to know what you're talking about and then be able to paraphrase all this information into a couple of images that you can refer to as you present. Also, just a reminder, the presentation needs to be under 10 minutes. So I had 25 slides including references, but the references were just copy and pasted from my paper. Everything else, so basically I had 21 slides of actual content. And 21 slides, it took me around exactly 10 minutes. Yeah, I was like 9 minutes 58 seconds or something. So I advise y'all to maybe keep it a little shorter than this. I mean, you can go longer if you want, but yeah, just try to keep the amount you're presenting less than 10 minutes. But yeah, everything other than that should be good. I'll be sending out the form to submit your presentation next Monday on September 8th. But you'll have until September 15th to complete and submit your presentation. And like I said, once you have a rough draft of your paper and know what you're going to be talking about and how the main points are going to be grouped, then your presentation becomes pretty simple. You just got to find the figures that you're going to talk about and put them on a slideshow. Good luck. Reach out to me if you have any questions, and thank you so much for being a part of this project.